The quantum physics laboratory of the Centauri Institute of Cosmic Studies hummed with an eerie blue glow as Lyra Bennett stood before her classmates, her heart thundering against her ribs. 20 pairs of alien eyes focused on her with varying degrees of disdain and curiosity. She was the only human in a class of the galaxy's most gifted young minds, and right now, she wished she could disappear into one of the quantum singularities they were studying. "We're waiting, Ms. Bennett," Professor Nix announced, her bioluminescent tentacles rippling with impatience. The cephalodian instructor had made no secret of her skepticism about having a human in her advanced quantum mechanics class. Lyra's hands trembled as she reached for the quantum resonance scanner. The device, sleek and otherworldly, was designed to measure subatomic frequencies that supposedly no human could perceive. Her classmates had all demonstrated their ability to tune into these frequencies with ease, their various alien physiologies naturally attuned to the quantum realm. Zinare, a crystalline being from the Andromeda galaxy, clicked their faceted appendages in amusement. "Perhaps we should adjust the scanner to detect more primitive wavelengths." The suggestion drew snickers from several students. Lyra closed her eyes, trying to block out the mockery. She had earned her place here, passing every entrance exam with scores that had shocked the admission council. But theory was one thing, practical application was another entirely. As her fingers touched the scanner's surface, something unexpected happened. Instead of the usual static she encountered during practice sessions, Lyra heard music. Not with her ears, but with her entire being. It was as if every particle of her existence had suddenly become aware of a symphony that had always been playing just beyond normal perception. The quantum display behind her erupted in patterns of light that caused Professor Nix's tentacles to coil in shock. "Impossible," the instructor whispered, all 4 of her eyes widening. Lyra opened her eyes to find the laboratory bathed in shifting patterns of golden light. The quantum resonance scanner in her hands pulsed with energy that seemed to flow through her like a conduit. But what truly stunned her was that she could understand it. The quantum frequencies weren't just random energy patterns, they were a language, ancient and profound. "She's damaging the equipment," Zinare exclaimed, their crystalline form vibrating with alarm. "No," Professor Nix said, moving closer to examine the readings. "She's harmonizing with frequencies we've never been able to access before. Frequencies that shouldn't exist within our current understanding of quantum mechanics." The music in Lyra's mind formed into distinct patterns, carrying fragments of information that made her gasp. Images flashed through her consciousness, vast cities that bridged the space between galaxies, beings of pure energy and thought, and a network of quantum pathways that once connected all sentient species in the universe. The revelation was too much. Lyra's connection to the quantum field collapsed, and the golden light faded from the laboratory. She stumbled, catching herself against a desk as her classmates stared in stunned silence. Professor Nix's tentacles moved in complex patterns as she analyzed the data streaming across her neural interface. "In all my cycles of teaching, I've never." She paused, her bioluminescence flickering rapidly. "Ms. Bennett, report to the director's office immediately. The rest of you, class dismissed." As Lyra gathered her things, she noticed the other students giving her a wide berth. Even Zinare seemed subdued, their usual mockery replaced by something that looked almost like fear. Only one student, a shadowy figure named Thex whose species was unknown even to most faculty, lingered behind with an unreadable expression. The walk to Director Voss's office through the Institute's crystalline corridors felt like traversing a dream. The quantum frequencies still echoed in her mind, carrying whispers of knowledge that both thrilled and terrified her. She had come to the Centauri Institute hoping to prove that humans deserved a place among the stars. Instead, she had stumbled upon something that suggested humanity's role in the cosmos might be far more significant than anyone had imagined. Director Voss, a being of pure energy contained within an ornate mechanical frame, was waiting for her along with Professor Nix and another figure Lyra had never seen before, a tall, ethereal creature whose form seemed to shift between states of matter. "Miss Bennett, Director Voss's voice resonated directly in her mind. What you experienced in the laboratory today has brought to light something we have long suspected but never confirmed. The quantum frequencies you accessed are part of a legacy left behind by the precursors, a civilization that vanished from our galaxy millions of years ago. The shifting figure moved forward, its voice a harmony of wavelengths. I am Observer Kai, from the Galactic Council of Quantum Sciences. What you have demonstrated today is unprecedented. It appears that human consciousness possesses unique properties we never suspected, properties that may be key to understanding the precursor's ultimate purpose. Lyra found her voice at last. The music, the frequencies, they're trying to tell us something, aren't they? Indeed, Observer Kai rippled with interest. But why a human? Why now? These are questions that must be answered carefully. There are those in the galaxy who would see this discovery as a threat to the established order. Director Voss's energy field pulsed with concern. Which is why, for now, we must keep this development confidential. Miss Bennett, you will begin special training immediately. Observer Kai will oversee your instruction personally. As Lyra left the office later that day, her mind reeling from all she had learned, she caught a glimpse of Thex watching her from the shadows. The mysterious student inclined their head slightly before disappearing around a corner, leaving Lyra with the distinct impression that she had gained both allies and enemies in equal measure. That night, as she lay in her dormitory pod looking out at the spiral arm of the Milky Way, Lyra realized that everything had changed. She was no longer just the human girl trying to prove herself in a galaxy that looked down on her species. She had become something else, a key to unlocking secrets that had lain dormant since before humanity's ancestors had climbed down from the trees. The quantum frequencies hummed softly in her consciousness, a constant reminder that the universe was far more mysterious and interconnected than anyone had imagined. And somewhere in those ancient harmonies lay a truth that would either unite the galaxy or tear it apart. Tomorrow, her real education would begin. 3 weeks after her quantum revelation, Lyra sat cross-legged in Observer Kai's private research chamber, surrounded by holographic displays of quantum waveforms. The room itself seemed to exist in multiple dimensions at once, its boundaries shifting like mercury whenever she tried to focus on them. Your ability to perceive the ancient frequencies is growing stronger, Observer Kai noted, their form rippling with approval. But perception is only the beginning. Today, we attempt communication. Lyra nodded, trying to calm her racing heart. Her initial discovery had sparked a firestorm of quiet controversy within the institute. While some faculty members, like Professor Nix, had moved from skepticism to cautious fascination, others had begun treating her with barely concealed hostility. The quantum resonance scanner hummed to life, but this time Lyra didn't need it to hear the music. The frequencies were always there now, a constant symphony at the edge of her consciousness. She closed her eyes, letting the patterns wash over her. Focus on the alpha sequence, Observer Kai instructed. Don't just listen, reach out. Lyra extended her awareness into the quantum field. The music shifted, becoming more structured, more intentional. Suddenly, she wasn't just hearing it, she was part of it. Images flooded her mind, vast libraries of pure energy, networks of thought spanning galaxies, and beings who had transcended physical form. They were trying to evolve, Lyra gasped, the realization hitting her like a physical force. The precursors, they weren't just building an empire. They were trying to transform consciousness itself. Observer Kai's form pulsed with excitement. Yes. But what happened to them? Why did they disappear? Before Lyra could respond, a new frequency cut through the harmonies, sharp, discordant, wrong. Pain lanced through her head, and the holographic displays exploded in a shower of sparks. She fell backward, caught by Observer Kai's energy field before she could hit the floor. Someone is interfering, Observer Kai's voice crackled with concern. The frequency patterns are being deliberately disrupted. The chamber's door slid open, revealing Thex, their shadowy form more substantial than usual. You need to come with me, they said urgently. Both of you. There's something you need to see. Lyra exchanged glances with Observer Kai, who nodded slightly. They followed Thex through a series of lesser-used corridors, eventually arriving at a section of the Institute that Lyra had never seen before. Ancient machinery lined the walls, covered in layers of dust except for one recently cleared console. I've been tracking quantum disturbances throughout the Institute, Thex explained, their voice barely above a whisper. Someone is using old precursor tech to generate interference patterns. They're trying to block something, or hide it. Observer Kai moved to examine the console, their energy field extending tendrils of analysis. This technology, it predates the Institute itself. The building must have been constructed around it. Lyra approached the console, and immediately the quantum frequencies in her mind shifted. The machine responded to her presence, its surface beginning to glow with the same golden light she had manifested in the laboratory. It recognizes you, Thex observed. Just as I thought. The precursors didn't just leave technology behind, they left guardians. Human beings aren't less evolved than other species, you're specifically engineered to access this network. The implications were staggering. But why? And who would want to suppress this knowledge? A noise in the corridor made them all freeze. Footsteps approached, accompanied by the distinctive sound of security drones. Observer Kai's form contracted with alarm. We need to leave. Now. But it was too late. The door slid open, revealing Professor Vex, head of Institute security, flanked by heavily armed drones. The Arcadian's metallic exoskeleton gleamed menacingly in the dim light. How unfortunate, Vex's synthetic voice reverberated through the chamber. We had hoped to contain this situation quietly, but you've forced our hand. Observer Kai, your credentials have been revoked. The Council of Quantum Sciences has been informed of your unauthorized experiments. The Council? Observer Kai's form flickered with indignation. You have no authority. I have every authority, Vex interrupted. The precursor network must remain dormant. The galaxy isn't ready for what it contains. Humanity's role was never meant to be discovered, not yet. Lyra felt the quantum frequencies surge around her, responding to her rising fear and anger. The ancient console pulsed in sync with her emotions. You knew, she accused. The Institute knew about this all along. For centuries, Vex confirmed. We are the guardians of order, ensuring that species develop at the proper pace. Humanity's awakening to their true purpose must be carefully controlled. Vex moved subtly, positioning themselves between Lyra and the security drones. You mean suppressed. You're afraid of what might happen if humans realize their potential. The console's glow intensified, and Lyra felt power building in the quantum field. Vex must have sensed it too, because the security drones suddenly raised their weapons. Take them, Vex commanded. Everything happened at once. Observer Kai expanded their energy field, creating a barrier as the drones opened fire. Vex seemed to dissolve into shadow, reappearing behind the drones to disable two of them in quick succession. And Lyra, acting on instinct, reached out to the quantum frequencies surrounding them. The ancient console erupted with golden light, sending a pulse of energy through the chamber that disabled the remaining drones and sent Vex staggering backward. In that moment of chaos, Lyra heard it, a clear, distinct message breaking through the quantum harmonies. The network is awakening, she said, her voice resonating with otherworldly power. And you can't stop it. Vex's exoskeleton crackled with frustrated energy. You don't understand what you're dealing with. The network doesn't just connect galaxies, it connects timelines, realities. If activated improperly, it could tear the universe apart. Or bring it together as it was meant to be, Observer Kai countered. The precursors chose humanity for a reason. Fighting this will only make the awakening more dangerous. More footsteps echoed in the corridor, reinforcements approaching. Vex grabbed Lyra's arm. We need to go. There's a secondary quantum lab in the lower levels. We can regroup there. As they fled through maintenance tunnels beneath the institute, Lyra's mind raced. The quantum frequencies were stronger than ever, filling her thoughts with fragments of the precursor's grand design. Humanity wasn't just meant to access the network, they were meant to complete it. But first, they had to survive long enough to understand how. The secondary quantum lab was nothing like the pristine research facilities of the upper institute. Hidden deep beneath the foundation, it was a cramped space filled with outdated equipment and emergency backup systems. But to Lyra, Thex, and Observer Kai, it was now a sanctuary. The quantum signatures are cleaner down here, Lyra noted, sensing the frequencies with growing clarity. Almost like something shielding this area from interference, Thex finished, their shadowy form moving among the ancient machines. This facility predates the Institute's security grid. They probably don't even know it exists. Observer Kai's energy form rippled with concentration as they interfaced with a dusty terminal. The precursor technology we found upstairs, it's part of something larger. A network node, one of many scattered throughout the galaxy. Lyra closed her eyes, letting the quantum frequencies guide her understanding. They're not just nodes. They're anchors. The precursors created a quantum web that holds reality itself together. She opened her eyes, meeting Observer Kai's shifting gaze. And humans were engineered to maintain it. A soft chime from Thex's direction drew their attention. The shadow being had managed to activate a hidden holographic array, filling the room with star maps and complex equations. Look at this. The Institute was built on this location for a reason. It's a convergence point for multiple quantum ley lines. Observer Kai moved closer to the display, their form flickering with excitement. These patterns, they're identical to the frequencies Lyra can access. The precursors weren't just leaving technology behind, they were creating waypoints for their successors. But why humans? Lyra asked, studying the intricate maps. We're one of the youngest species in the galaxy. It doesn't make sense. Perhaps that's exactly why, a new voice said from the shadows. They all turned to see Professor Nyx emerging from a hidden entrance, her tentacles glowing softly in the dim light. Your species' neural pathways aren't fixed like ours. You're still evolving, still adaptable. Professor, Observer Kai's form contracted defensively. How did you find you? I've known about this facility for decades. Nyx moved further into the room, her bioluminescence pulsing with complex emotions. I was part of the original research team that discovered the first evidence of the precursor network. Before Vex and his followers took control. Vex's form solidified slightly. You're part of the resistance. There are many of us who believe the time for secrecy is past. Nyx activated another terminal, bringing up detailed scans of human brain activity. The precursors didn't choose humanity randomly. Your species has something the rest of us lost long ago, the ability to change, to transcend your own limitations. The quantum frequencies in Lyra's mind suddenly shifted, aligning with the patterns displayed on the holographic maps. Understanding flooded through her. The network isn't just dormant, it's incomplete. It needs human consciousness to function fully. Precisely, Nyx confirmed. But Vex and his allies believe awakening the network would destabilize the current galactic order. They'd rather suppress humanity's development than risk losing control. A distant rumble shook dust from the ceiling. Observer Kai's energy field pulsed with alarm. They're scanning the lower levels. We don't have much time. Time enough for this, Nyx said, extending a tentacle toward another hidden panel. The wall slid aside, revealing a chamber that hummed with familiar golden light. Inside stood a device unlike anything Lyra had seen before, a crystalline structure that seemed to exist in multiple dimensions at once. A quantum core, Observer Kai whispered. I thought they were all destroyed. One of the last, Nyx confirmed. And the key to activating the network. Lyra, you're the only one who can interface with it properly. Lyra approached the device, feeling the quantum frequencies build to a crescendo in her mind. But before she could reach it, alarms blared throughout the facility. Security barriers began slamming down around them. "They found us," Vex warned, their form rippling with tension. "Lyra, quickly," Nyx urged. "The core will protect itself once activated, but you need to establish the connection now." Heart pounding, Lyra placed her hands on the quantum core. The golden light surged through her, and suddenly she wasn't just hearing the frequencies, she was seeing the entire network, spread across space and time like a vast neural web. Images and information flooded her consciousness, the precursor's grand design, humanity's true purpose, and the ultimate goal of uniting all sentient consciousness. But she also saw the danger. Vex wasn't entirely wrong, activating the network too quickly could have catastrophic consequences. The power had to be balanced, controlled, guided by minds ready to handle it. Through the quantum link, Lyra sensed other humans throughout the galaxy, each unknowingly connected to different nodes of the network. They were all part of the same design, pieces of a vast puzzle waiting to be assembled. The security barriers were almost closed. Professor Nyx's tentacles moved in complex patterns, interfacing with the facility's systems to buy them more time. Observer Kai's energy field expanded, creating a protective barrier around the quantum core. "What do you see?" Vex asked urgently. "Everything," Lyra whispered, her voice resonating with newfound power. "And I know what we have to do next." The quantum core pulsed one final time, downloading its knowledge directly into her mind. As security forces breached the outer barriers, Lyra understood that their discovery in the Institute was just the beginning. The real challenge would be finding the other human quantum sensitives before Vex and his allies could suppress them. The next phase of evolution was beginning, and this time, no one would be able to stop it. The escape from the Institute's lower levels had been chaotic, but effective. Now, aboard Professor Nyx's private research vessel, the Quantum Drift, Lyra stood at the observation deck watching stars streak by in quantum slipspace. The knowledge from the core hummed through her consciousness, gradually organizing itself into coherent patterns. 7, she announced to the others gathered in the ship's command center. There are 7 other human quantum sensitives already at various institutions throughout the galaxy. The precursors arranged it so we'd all be in place when the network began to wake. Observer Kai's energy form swirled with interest. The number can't be coincidental. 7 nodes, 7 humans. 7 foundations of consciousness, Vex added, emerging from a shadow near the ship's quantum drive. It's an ancient pattern, repeated throughout multiple civilizations. Professor Nyx's tentacles moved across the ship's controls, bringing up a galactic map marked with pulsing points of light. These must be the locations of the other nodes. But reaching them won't be easy. Vex will have already alerted his allies at every major academic institution. He's not the only one with a network, a new voice said. They turned to see Navigation Officer Wren stepping onto the bridge. The Synthoid's mechanical form housed one of the most sophisticated AI cores in known space. The quantum awakening hasn't gone unnoticed. There are others who have been waiting for this moment. Lyra studied the map, feeling the quantum frequencies align with each glowing point. The closest node is at the Rigel Science Academy. There's a human there named Junwei. He's already starting to feel the frequencies, but he doesn't understand what's happening. Rigel is neutral territory, Wren noted, their optical sensors scanning the data streams. But they have a strong relationship with the Galactic Science Council. Which means they'll be watching for us, Vex concluded. Their shadowy form seemed to deepen with concern. We'll need a way to get inside without being detected. Professor Nyx's bioluminescence pulsed thoughtfully. Perhaps we don't need to hide. The annual Quantum Physics Symposium is in 3 days. Every major institution sends representatives. A perfect cover, Observer Kai agreed, their energy field brightening. And a chance to make allies. Not everyone in the academic community shares Vex's fear of change. Lyra felt the quantum frequencies shift, showing her glimpses of possible futures. June isn't the only one we need to reach at Rigel. There's someone else, someone important. She focused on the images flowing through her mind. A timeless one. The others fell silent. The timeless ones were among the oldest beings in the galaxy, rumored to have had contact with the precursors themselves. Most lived in self-imposed isolation, watching but never interfering with younger species. If a timeless one is involved, Professor Nix said slowly, then this is even more significant than we realized. They only emerge when massive shifts in the cosmic order are imminent. Ren's mechanical form hummed as they processed this information. I'm detecting increased quantum activity throughout the ship's systems. The network is becoming more active just from our discussion of it. Lyra nodded, feeling the surge of energy. It's responding to our awareness. The more we understand, the stronger the connections become. She turned to the others, her expression determined. But we need to move quickly. I can sense Vex and his allies preparing something. They're gathering resources, ancient technology that could disrupt the quantum fields themselves. Then we'll need resources of our own, Vex said. They moved to another console, bringing up data on various resistance groups and underground scientific communities. There are others who've been studying the precursor legacy in secret. If we can reach them, we'll need to be careful who we trust, Observer Kai cautioned. The wrong alliance could be worse than no alliance at all. Professor Nix's tentacles created complex patterns in the air as she thought. We have 3 days until the symposium. That's time to make some discreet contacts and prepare our approach. She turned to Lyra. You'll need to learn to control your abilities more precisely. A room full of quantum physicists will notice if you're broadcasting frequencies everywhere. I'll help with that, Observer Kai offered. There are techniques we can adapt from ancient energy working practices. As the others began planning their approach to Rigel, Lyra returned her attention to the star map. The quantum frequencies were showing her more now, patterns within patterns, connections spanning not just space but time itself. The precursors hadn't just created a network, they'd created a quantum evolution machine, designed to guide species toward a unified consciousness. But evolution was never without cost. As she studied the glowing nodes, Lyra sensed the enormity of what they were undertaking. Success would mean the transformation of all sentient life in the galaxy. Failure could fracture reality itself. The ship's quantum drive hummed beneath her feet as they raced toward Rigel and their next challenge. Somewhere in the vast darkness between the stars, she could feel Junwei beginning to awaken to his own abilities. They weren't just fighting to protect humanity's future now, they were racing to prevent a cosmic catastrophe. And in the quantum frequencies that filled her mind, Lyra heard the echoes of the precursor's final message, unity or entropy. There would be no middle ground. The great amphitheater of the Rigel Science Academy hummed with the mental and vocal frequencies of 1,000 brilliant minds from across the galaxy. Lyra stood backstage, feeling the quantum network pulse with unprecedented strength. In the 3 days since their arrival, everything had changed. Junwei now stood beside her, his quantum abilities fully awakened. The young physicist's presence strengthened their connection to the network exponentially. Through their combined awareness, they could sense the other 5 human sensitives making their way to Rigel, drawn by the growing resonance of the quantum field. They're moving, Vex whispered, materializing from the shadows. Vex forces have surrounded the academy. They brought it, the nullifier. Professor Nix's tentacles coiled with tension. So our intelligence was correct. They mean to collapse the entire quantum field. They don't understand what that would mean, Observer Kai's energy form flickered anxiously. The quantum network doesn't just connect consciousness, it stabilizes the very fabric of spacetime. A sudden collapse could trigger a cascade failure across multiple dimensions. Lyra closed her eyes, sensing the threads of probability through the quantum field. That's why the Timeless One revealed themselves. They've been waiting for this moment for millions of years. The being in question stood at the center of the amphitheater, their ancient form shifting through states of matter like liquid starlight. Around them, the galaxy's greatest scientific minds had gathered for what they thought was a groundbreaking presentation on quantum mechanics. None of them yet realized they were about to witness the fulfillment of the Precursor's grand design. "It's time," June said softly, his quantum signature harmonizing with Lyra's. "The others are in position." Throughout the amphitheater, 5 other humans had taken their places, each accompanied by allies they'd gathered during their own journeys of awakening. The quantum network hummed with building power as their consciousness began to align. Ren's mechanical voice came through their secure quantum channel. Multiple ships dropping out of quantum slip space. "The Galactic Security Fleet has arrived. Vex must have convinced them we're a threat to cosmic stability," Professor Nix observed, her bioluminescence pulsing with determination. "Once the nullifier is activated, it won't matter what anyone believes." The Timeless One raised their ancient hands, and reality itself seemed to hold its breath. "Children of the stars," their voice resonated through multiple dimensions at once, "you stand at the threshold of transformation." The Precursors seeded this moment across millions of years, waiting for consciousness to evolve to this precise point. Suddenly, the walls of the amphitheater shimmered and dissolved, revealing the star-filled void beyond. The assembled beings gasped as they found themselves suspended in a quantum bubble, watching as massive ships descended through Rigel's atmosphere. "Now, Vex," a voice commanded, and a wave of sickly green energy burst from the largest vessel, reaching for the quantum bubble like grasping tentacles. But Lyra was ready. She reached out through the quantum field, connecting with June and the other sensitives. Their consciousness merged, forming a 7-pointed star of pure quantum energy. The Timeless One's form expanded, becoming a conductor for their combined power. The Precursors didn't create the network to control or constrain, Lyra's voice echoed with the combined understanding of 7 awakened minds. They created it to free us all from the limitations of singular consciousness. The nullifier's energy clashed with their quantum field, creating a spectacular display of cosmic forces. But where Vex's weapon sought to destroy and suppress, their combined consciousness acted as a transformer, converting the destructive energy into catalytic potential. "You don't understand what you're doing." Vex's voice boomed across space. "Some boundaries aren't meant to be crossed. All boundaries are meant to be transcended," the Timeless One responded. "That is the nature of evolution itself." Through their combined awareness, Lyra could see the quantum network activating across the galaxy. Every sentient being was beginning to feel the connections that had always existed between them, hidden beneath the surface of ordinary consciousness. The nullifier's energy began to falter as more and more minds awakened to the quantum reality. Even Vex's allies were dropping their weapons, overwhelmed by the sudden expansion of their awareness. This is what the Precursors intended, June's thoughts merged with Lyra's. Not a hierarchy of species, but a symphony of consciousness. The quantum bubble expanded, encompassing the fleet above. Inside it, the barriers between minds began to dissolve. Ancient prejudices and fears faded as beings experienced each other's perspectives directly through the quantum field. Humans, aliens, AIs, all found their consciousness evolving into something greater than the sum of their parts. Vex's ship landed in the amphitheater, and the security chief emerged, his metallic exoskeleton reflecting the quantum energies swirling around them. But his stance was no longer threatening. Like everyone else, he had been transformed by the awakening. "We were wrong," Vex admitted, his synthetic voice humbled. "We thought we were protecting the galaxy, but we were only protecting our fear of change." The Timeless One moved to the center of their gathering, their form now a nexus of quantum light. "This is only the beginning. The network you have awakened will continue to evolve, as will all consciousness connected to it. The precursor's gift was not control of the galaxy, but the key to unlocking the galaxy's true potential. As the quantum energies stabilized, Lyra felt the presence of countless minds touching hers through the network. Questions, wonder, and possibilities flowed like rivers of light between stars. Humanity's role as quantum sensitives had catalyzed the change, but the transformation belonged to all sentient beings. What happens now? Someone asked, their thought echoing through the quantum field. Lyra smiled, sensing infinite potential unfolding before them. Now we learn what consciousness can truly become. Together. The stars seemed to shine brighter as the quantum network pulsed with new life. The age of separation was over. The legacy of the precursors had been fulfilled, not as they had planned it, but as it had evolved to become. And in the quantum frequencies that connected them all, Lyra heard the symphony of unified consciousness beginning its eternal song.